What's going on, baby? Slick Kackis here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we are shining a spotlight on some correct PvE primary weapons and their god rolls, even though they're getting a weird amount of attention. Like, they're seeing a decent amount of play, but mainly with the casual audience. The medium to higher tier players seem to be trying to replace them with other stuff, or going for what I feel are suboptimal rolls, even though these weapons are incredible. Not only for right now within Season of Arrivals for Destiny 2, but also are poised to be great choices going into the fall or winter expansion with Destiny 2 Beyond Light. And so, let's get started. But first things first, today's video is sponsored by NVIDIA, in that all of the gameplay you've already seen and are going to see within this video is captured on GeForce Now, NVIDIA's new cloud streaming service. Essentially, this lets you gain access to your massive library of games from any computer out there, as long as you have an internet connection. And that means it can turn other devices like Macs, Shield TV, and Androids into gaming PCs, as it supports up to 1080p 60 FPS, and you get access to all of this potentially for free. That's right, free members get unlimited 1-hour sessions, but you can just restart the session as soon as you're done for another hour, and you can just keep going. But founder members get unlimited 6-hour sessions, priority queues, and access to games with RTX on. All for only $4.99 a month. If you want to learn more, check the link in the description. And by the way, if you're wondering about input lag, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't any, but there's the least I've ever experienced on a cloud streaming service. Again, because it's just running through the PC, no peripherals. So definitely check it out. I think it's a really interesting service. In any event, let's move on to today's topic, and that is the absolute laser focus of the Destiny community to trying to replace the Recluse SMG in PvE. And so far, I've seen massive amounts of people latch onto guns that, in my opinion, are not that amazing, just because they're trying desperately again to replace that Recluse, and therefore they're not looking at so many other viable options. Mainly, you see people gravitating towards SMGs. Firstly, we had the Death Adder with the role of just feeding Frenzy Dragonfly. Dragonfly is not that viable in my opinion, especially within any sort of higher level content. It's cool and nice to have, and it's a fun role, but it's not actually that fantastic. And yet, just because it existed within the same archetype, people were just going after this weapon like crazy. And now I'm seeing it quite a bit with the Recluse SMG. There's videos calling it the best PvE gun in the game. And while it's certainly better than the Death Adder in my opinion, and you can get some pretty cracked god rolls, is that really the case? No, I feel like there's even more viable options, and today, what we're focusing on is the Gnawing Hunger, a gun you don't often see. Wait, let me rephrase that. You see it all the time in PvP, but not so much in PvE, even though there are some absolutely goated rolls. So, the Gnawing Hunger was updated for this season. So even though it's an older weapon, it's dropping with an extremely high infusion cap, so it's viable for basically a year from now. And also it has just phenomenal rolls, and it's easy to farm. It can be focused down in Umbral Engrams, so you can get this or only one other older Gambit gun. So again, you can just take your Umbral Engrams, turn them into a 50% chance of getting the Gnawing Hunger. And if you've upgraded your Prismatic Recaster enough, those Gnawing Hungers will come with 2 different perks in the final perk slot you can choose between. So the chances of getting god rolls is even easier this time around. So what are you looking for in a PvE focused Gnawing Hunger? Well, firstly, you want Subsistence. Now, I know other people out there are not as high on this perk as I personally am, but my goodness, with a 600 RPM AR, this is where Subsistence is at its best. Like, if you don't like Subsistence on the Recluse SMG, that's fine. It can have some ammo issues. But with the Gnawing Hunger, oh my goodness. Check it out. With absolutely no mods that affect its reserves, you get 410 rounds in reserves with Subsistence. That's insane. 400 rounds at your disposal. And if you do actually put on some reserves, well, with one, you get an extra 52 rounds for 462 in total, and with 2 you get an extra 90 rounds in total for 552 rounds, but that's really unnecessary. 400 rounds with Subsistence is more than enough. I've never had ammo issues when using this gun. But reserve ammo is not the only place Subsistence is generous with this style of gun. It also gives you quite a lot of rounds back every time you get a kill, around 9 to 10. So you can see, even when I'm in the menagerie and fighting yellow bar enemies that take up a huge amount of primary bullets, I'm still able to chain kill after kill after kill, and it is a long time before I need to reload. And again, that's if I incorporate yellow bars. Guys, if I just shoot red bars, it's infinite. Like, I go infinite without even trying. For goodness sakes, I'm not even getting headshots on most of these kills, and as you can see, I'm hovering around the 43 rounds in the magazine constantly when I'm moving from target to target. So when you're in those scenarios where you're dealing with a large amount of red bar enemies, which happens a lot within the game, Subsistence is just so much better than any sort of reloading perk or any sort of magazine extension perk. It's just on a league of its own. And what goes well with Subsistence? Rampage. That is the utter wombo combo. Rampage gives you a damage bonus after every kill, stacks up to 3 times. So it's in your benefit to just keep killing. The best part is that you can have access to a Rampage spec, which gives you significantly more time before the Rampage bonus goes away. And with Subsistence, that's again going to extend the amount of time before you need to reload as long as possible, the best compared to really any other perk out there. It means that keeping Rampage at its maximum ×3, which gives you a 30% damage bonus, is its easiest. Like, Rampage and Subsistence are just meant for each other. But it's not only good at taking out large groups of red bar ads, even though that's most commonly where you're using your primary in PvE. So even if it was only good at that, it would still be phenomenal. But it's also so good against those yellow bars. Like I kind of demonstrated earlier, what Subsistence lets you do is ramp up Rampage to ×3, just dealing with the red bars, and then take on yellow bars with that huge damage bonus and a full magazine, right? Like, if you were using Rampage with any other perk, really, you're going to engage that yellow bar with half a magazine, or you're going to have just reloaded and spent that time where you had Rampage ×3 not shooting, as opposed to with Subsistence, you just finished killing that one guy, aim at the yellow bar, and go to town. And therefore, you're able to use your primary to deal with a lot of those mid-tier enemies, where instead you would be switching to your special. Now, that's certainly not something you necessarily need to avoid. I switch to my special all the time, but it can be nice to conserve that ammo, take those higher tier guys down with your primary and not need to rely on your special. And then when you have a much bigger enemy, a boss, you're loaded up with that special and heavy ammo. And so all of this combines to give you a weapon that rivals SMGs in close range. Certainly when I'm using this versus an Recluse SMG, I would almost rather have this, to be perfectly honest. I'm reloading the Recluse so dang much, and it doesn't have access to as good of damage increasing perks. Like, Surrounded is fine, but I don't think it's as easy to activate as Rampage. And then at mid to longer range, it's not even a question. It's not even a question. These things are vastly superior at dealing with enemies within those ranges compared to any sort of SMG. So I think people just need to give it up on the SMGs. We don't have any absolutely phenomenal God Rolls available when looking at the recent additions to those gun types, whereas the 600s are killing it right now. Not only do you have the Gnawing Hunger, but looking at some alternatives, I mean, The Trials of Osiris auto rifle, the Summoner, can get Overflow plus Rampage. Yeah, you can't go infinite like Subsistence, but walk over a special brick and you get 100 rounds. 100 rounds at your disposal combined with Rampage. Absolutely phenomenal. And even another recent addition is the Forward Path. That can get Feeding Frenzy and multi-kill clip. An absolute wombo combo, gives you way more damage, 50% increased damage compared to Rampage's 30, but a little bit more difficult to activate, but still, it's a great choice as well, and it's a kinetic, and that is desperate for these style of close range weapons, especially right now. And the Forward Path, again, was just introduced this season. It has a really high infusion cap. So these are the primaries I really am going to be going for. I'm already using heavily, and I think a lot of people should shift the focus away from these SMGs and on to gun types that have better available God Rolls and are performing really well in the current meta. And so guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed, found this informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKackis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.